All right, so the ongoing mice war, me against the mice in the Forest River Sierra. This is a front bunkhouse. We like this model because it has a full height. It's the extra high fifth wheel, and then it's got full height in the rear bedroom. And I'm 6'1", so it makes it comfortable for me. All of the other models, or the majority of the models, put the bedroom up in the front there, and you have to I have to duck down. And so anyway, so that's got a bunkhouse in the front there. Sleeps 3 until your kids start to get too big, and then they start interfering with each other. Their feet, somebody's feet are hitting somebody's head or whatever. But enough about that. This is about mice. All right, my ongoing war against mice. Most of the problems with mice in this trailer could have been avoided if someone at the factory took a little bit more time and was a little bit more careful about things. So I'm going to show you some key spots in this trailer where mice get in. Let's start with the outdoor kitchen. The upper cabinets in the outdoor kitchen, I've never had a mouse problem in there, ever. We've had this trailer for several years. No mice problem up there because once the doors are closed, there's no way they can get in there. Now, down here under the sink is another story, okay? You've got a panel with 2 screws you can remove here to get to the drain assembly. And you've got 2 drawers, okay? And what the mice do is they get into that compartment, and then they get into your drawers, and if they find something they want to nest in, they'll nest in there. So you find, if you're unfortunate, you'll find an entire nest, actually, or nesting material in your drawers. Or, in my case, I just find mouse poop. They tend to get in there, mess around, poop. Got to clean everything out, sanitize everything. Did that last year. They did it again. And that's partly my fault because I should have addressed the issue the first time I cleaned it out. But I thought I had taken care of where the mice were coming in, and obviously I didn't. So, why did they come in here? Real simple. We've got 2 areas of egress into this compartment. The first and most obvious is they walk up these water pipes and come through this huge opening right here that was left by the factory, okay, to allow these pipes to come through. You can see the pipes because they come in at an angle, or for whatever reason to ease assembly, they blow out a big hole in this thing. They even left a piece of the flooring material untrimmed, but they basically cut a big old hole in this thing, run the pipes through, and just leave it, okay? So we've got the steel wool material that can be stuffed down in that hole, because the mice, if you just put steel wool in and it's not secured, the mice might push it out. But my experience has been they will not chew through it. That's area number 1. Area number 2 in this kitchen is where the drain pipe. Okay, here's your drain. They don't have room for a regular trap, so they put a waterless trap in here. The pipe runs out almost horizontally with very little pitch, out through a hole in the wall into there. All right? They tend to get up into the belly of the trailer first in most situations, and then they're going to come through a hole like that. Once they gain access to this area and they're bored in here, what they're going to do is they're going to go through that opening right there and get into the belly of the beast, so to speak. All right, there's a little bit better look at that. I apologize. And sometimes when I'm talking and the camera's not on the tripod, I move it around. All right there. So we're going to take care of that too. These draw slides are cheaply made, so you got to be careful with them. You don't want to damage them. So I just want to show you how these come out. It's real simple. There's a little plastic lever right here. On one side, the plastic lever is up high. On the other side, the plastic lever is down low. So on this side, you want to push this lever down like this. And at the same time, you're going to hold on to the other side. Hold like this. Hold on to the other side, pushing the lever up. And slide all the way out, and the whole drawer will come all the way out. And to put it back in, you just make sure it's all lined up, and you push the drawer all the way home, and it'll click in. but don't break those draw slides. They're a pain in the butt. All right, so like I said, I'm going to push down on this one. I'm going to pull up on this lever on this side and just pull straight out. It comes right out. Now my assistant's going to vacuum out this whole area, make it nice and clean. In order to make it easier to get in there and vacuum, I'm going to take out these draw sliders because there's not much holding them in. Draw sliders, you slide the slides all the way to a point where the square hole exposes the screw head. All right?
Yeah.
The square hole exposes the screw head. You can take out this screw, and then there are 2 screws in that back wall there. Before we take the slides out, I'm going to mark each one with a Sharpie. I'm going to mark them from rear to front. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason why I'm going to do that is so that each slider goes back in its exact position, and when you line up the screw holes and put the screws in the same exact location, all the alignment will still be exactly the way it was. If I just take all 4 of these out and don't know which one goes where and just stick whichever one where, I might end up with the draws not being lined up correctly, and they don't work that great in the first place because it's a cheap slides. So anyways, so we'll just do that real quick. Easy as that. If you're fortunate enough to have one, I have a nice long handled Phillips head screwdriver. I think it's the number 2 to take those screws out in the back. So Peter, what I'm going to have you do is take the screws out in the back and just make sure you don't drop them down that hole. While he's working on that, I want to talk about the refrigerator area. Okay, it's not uncommon to find mouse poop and other activity in that refrigerator area. Now, they could be getting into that refrigerator area through the hole I just showed you. I'm not sure whether or not there's a pass through there or not. But what I have discovered as of late, and by the way, you know, it's not just this brand of trailer. My friend has a higher end trailer, a travel trailer, not a fifth wheel, but it's an open range. And this past weekend we were camping, and not only did he find mouse activity, he found a live mouse in his trailer running around. He had gotten into a storage compartment, tore up all the packing for where his Radiant, he bought one of those little countertop Radiant cookers, and made a big mess in there. He opened up his refrigerator vent here and found activity in there. Okay, so on his refrigerator's in a slide out, so he's got a panel like this here, and then up here he's got another panel like that. On this model, and like a lot of models, if it's in the exterior wall that's not a slide out, you'll have a panel like that up on the side, and then you'll have a roof vent like that up there. All right? They can get in through the roof vent if they get on the roof, or they can get in through these openings without any problem at all. A mouse can squeeze through those openings. How are they getting up the side of the trailer? Well, it turns out the trailer cover. When you cover your trailer, if you cover your trailer in the wintertime, and there's a big controversy over whether or not you should cover or shouldn't cover your trailers, all of the trailer covers that I've seen have a soft cloth membrane on the inside that allows the cover to not scratch the trailer as it's shifting. As it shifts back and forth and rubs in the wind, it won't scratch up your trailer. So I understand why they put that membrane in there. The problem is the mice can hold on to that membrane like gangbusters. They become like Spider-Man. They can just go right up the side of the trailer. What happens is they're going to get down here. The cover doesn't go to the ground, but it doesn't have to, because they can climb up the tires, no problem. Once they get on the tires, they get on the inside of that cover, they can climb the inside of that cover and they can go wherever they want. If you forget to close this, okay, this is the range hood exhaust. This is designed to be securely snapped shut for a reason, okay? So if you forget to close this, you could have a problem. And yeah, that's just wonderful to deal with. That's a delight. I love the design of that. I'll get to that in a moment. Anyways, so we're gonna open that up and we're gonna look in there, because I know I vacked that out. Oh, we got a work stoppage here because some genius decided to put square drive screw heads for here. So they're gonna use regular Phillips head in the back, and then they're gonna switch to square drive here just to you know, make life interesting. All right, you can use a coin to open these. You just turn them 90 degrees and give it a little pull. That's something falling out already. And then this, you just got to feed this up through.
Doesn't look like much.
Nah, actually, that's a good sign.
Did you seal it last
Yeah,
time?
now no, actually I didn't. This is one of the few places that the manufacturer actually wasn't asleep at the wheel. This is the gas line where it comes in from down below, and they sealed that really well. Now, maybe that is a safety issue. Maybe they needed to make sure that that line was, you know, kind of secured. I don't know, because I just thought it was kind of strange that they took the extra time to do it here, but they didn't do it anywhere else where any other pipes, any other penetrations, whether it's pipes or wires or cables coming through, they pretty much just were like, whatever. This is a little bit of debris in here, nothing really much. I'm not too worried about that. I don't even see one mouse turd at all, which is good. So getting back to what I was saying about the mice scaling this thing, if you're gonna cover your trailer for the winter, you've got to make sure you think about all of these openings and penetrations in the outer envelope of the trailer that you normally wouldn't think a mouse could get to, because they'll get to it. They'll get to there. They'll get on the roof and go through there. They'll get in there. And they'll go in there. And I tell you what, I've never had it happen to me, but I would hate to see what would happen if a mouse brought nesting material into there and you didn't know it, you fired up your heater. Or if a mouse died in there for some reason. We'll listen to some music. Yeah, that's another thing about this trailer. The audio system now, it's just developed a new little quirk. It turns on by itself. So you're gonna make sure the outdoor speakers are off. Otherwise, you know, you're in the house at night and you're like, what's that music playing outside? All right, this video is about mice. Okay, my assistant has vacuumed up the... What the...
Much as I could.
Much as you could. Well, let me see if I can do better. All right, so I'm gonna shut this music off before I get sick. All right, so we got that all vacked out the best we can. Now we're just gonna take some paper towels and some spick and span and we're gonna wipe that down nice. All right, so you're gonna be able to just reach right underneath that pipe and get that, okay? My son wants to know, my smart A son wants to know who we is. Me and the mice. So, what can you use to stuff those holes? You want to stuff those holes with something. Some people try and use spray foam. If you use spray foam by itself, mice will chew through the cured spray foam product and they'll get in there. So what you want to do is you want to use something that they don't want to chew through readily, which is steel wool. If you stuff steel wool in the hole, you're going to make sure it's secured in some way, otherwise they will try and push it out and get in that way. So you can buy steel wool, and you know, you can buy bags of fine steel wool just about at any hardware store or, you know, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. And it's pretty cheap stuff. But if you like my missus, you go on and you pay extra money and you get the Kenley 4-inch 5-foot steel wool with protective gloves included. And what you get in this box, this is special kit for anti-mouse. Look at that, the Nordstrand Pest Control Kit. And what Nordstrand does is Nordstrand is nice enough to give you these scissors that look like the kind that the paramedics use, only a cheap version of them. Okay, a pair of protective gloves, and a 5-foot roll of this steel wool product, which is steel wool basically in a mat.
A little bit of steel in it.
Yeah, well, anyways, so you feel free to overpay for that, but otherwise for stuffing holes, quite frankly I would recommend just getting regular steel wool, packing it in there, and then you can either foam or seal over it with a spray type seal or something like that. I'll show you something like that in a moment. So just cut this what I did was I wrapped it around the pipe to get the rough length, and then cut this like this. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around the pipe and try and stuff it down into the hole and see how that works out. I don't think it's going to work out so great.
Me either.
All right, tight situations like this, cutting a long piece and trying to just wrap around the pipe and slide it in is not going to work. So I had to cut that into smaller pieces and just stuff it around. But I've got pretty good coverage right there. So now the thing you would have to worry about is if the mice are on the other side of that hole, they would be able to push on it possibly and push that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal that, and we'll get to that in a bit. Before I do seal that, I'm going to take care of that hole right there. Oh, one last thought about like the pipe situation like that. You got to be careful you don't push up on the pipe too much by stuffing too much in the bottom, because you're going to raise the pipe up, and like I said, there's not much pitch to begin with here. So if your trailer's not perfectly level and you've lifted that pipe up too much, you might end up with a drainage problem with the rear sink. There's several different products you can use to coat that steel wool after you're done. I happen to have, somebody actually got me a couple of cans of this. They thought, because, oh, you're a handy guy, maybe you'd want some of this. You know, there's an infomercial that sells something like this online, and I think finally, you know, major company like Rust-Oleum said, well, why the heck don't we just have our own version of that? Because the guy who stands in the fishing boat that he patched with this stuff, I guess that he was selling too much of this stuff for the other company. So anyways, this is a Rust-Oleum flexible rubber coating. Seals leaks and cracks instantly. Now, mice might chew through this, but they're not going to want to chew through the steel wool. So this is, I believe, going to be a good combination. We're just going to spray that area, spray over that steel wool with this. All right, so that stuff kind of expands a little bit. When that fully cures, it makes kind of like a rubberized coating. No reason not to be liberal with the stuff, because nobody's going to see it once this is all put back together. But I'm hoping that's going to work. One miscalculation I made was I marked and numbered these, but you probably should also mark the holes, because the way these brackets are designed, they have all kinds of holes. Some of them are slotted. But if you look real carefully, you can actually see the outline of where the bugle-headed screw kind of made a indentation there. So I know that they used the slotted hole, and I know that they had it all the way over to the far right for that bottom one. And on the top, they used the one hole there all by itself. So it can be done, but you know, if you mark it, it'll be that much quicker. This is the pass-through front cargo area. It's a good-sized storage area, but it's amazing how fast you could fill that thing up. Anyways, when you get that all chock full of stuff, the mice, if they get into this compartment, they're going to love to get into whatever you've got in there. So if you've got stuff, like for instance, we had a problem where we had a folding chair, and they got into the fold of the chair and tried to make a mess in there. Well, they did make a mess. Anyways, so I cleaned this all out last year, and I went on a rampage, and I decided I'm going to figure out exactly where they were coming in. At least that was the plan. And the first place that I targeted was this area right here, where the waste pipe from the toilet comes down through this compartment and goes through this penetration and then goes into the belly of the trailer, that underside area there, where that's very difficult to block all the holes for that, so it becomes kind of a mouse highway. Anyways, so what I did was I discovered that the way that they had done this, they had cut not two holes, but they cut one huge hole, okay, for these two pipes to pass through, and then they just put these plastic pieces around, and look at this. You get a 1.5 inch drain pipe that goes through the penetration there, and they put this plastic ring around it that had, you can see it's just completely too large, and that was all open. So all that pink stuff that you see there, what you're looking at right there is actually spray-in foam. That's actually fire blocking foam that I used, and I didn't use foam alone. I got steel wool in there, and then on top of that, I really wanted to, excuse me, crawling into here. I really wanted to be thorough. So what I did was I cut metal flashing and I slotted the flashing. There's a slot right here. Okay. I cut the metal flashing and I slotted it so I could put it right around the pipe. And I screwed that down with these screws, with these plastic pieces. So now that looks really good. That does not look like there's been any activity around here. So they're not coming up through here any longer. Before they definitely were, because that just was wide open.
Watch out for your head.
Yeah, I know, watching my head. So now let's look up. That, because of the nature of the toilet, the way that it's bolted to the floor, there is a little bit of a gap there, but there's no way that they're getting in through there. We do have a little hole right there, but I think that there's a trim piece on the floor that keeps them from coming up there. Well, I'll double check that. And then we do have a gap around this pipe right here. Okay, this is probably a vent. Yeah, this is actually a vent line. So this goes up through the wall in the trailer all the way up to the roof. So we're gonna probably want to block that hole right there. Not sure where they would go. Once they get into that wall though and they get into the roof, that's like a super highway. Any openings or gaps up in that roof between the actual rubber roof decking and the ceiling. So when I first saw that big opening there, I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's an obvious problem. But then I did something I didn't think of doing before, because I noticed that these side walls go up, and they only go up to the underside of the floor joists, okay? And these aluminum floor joists are about 3.5 inches or maybe even 4 inches depth. So that's all open up there. So you can put your hand up inside there and then get right on the other side of that. We've got these electrical cables and other cables going through the floor holes and everything. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. Look at this big hole right here. They could easily scale this carpeting. So I was wondering, maybe I should take a look behind there. And you're going to see in a minute that these panels all unscrew, and you're going to see what's behind there. And we're going to check for mouse activity, but you wouldn't believe what I found in there the first time I opened this up.
What are you doing?
Yeah. As my assistant works to take these panels off by removing all those screws, my assistant who refuses to wear socks.
I have socks.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, this is those little girly ones that kids wear now. Okay. Anyways, so we got this one off over here. And when I open this up, you can see that there's mouse poop and debris all in here. Now, I know for a fact that last year I took this all, opened this all up, and I cleaned all of this. So this is all new activity over the past season. So this past winter, they did it again. Or this fall, they were at work. I don't know. But when I first opened this up, and I looked around the corner here, I saw these two pipes. These two pipes are drain pipes for the shower. It might be a vent pipe. One of these is probably a vent for the gray water tank, and the other one's probably a drain. It goes up to the shower and the sink. So where they go through the floor here, there was an opening cut in the floor right there. This one, these guys at the factory didn't even bother putting those plastic things around this one. They just left this huge hole, okay, down into the belly of the beast. And the tank is like right there. So sorry about that. Battery on the camera died. We switched out to a new battery. Anyways, so this area right here, this was wide open. Okay, so what I did was I treated this the same way I treated the other one. I cut this piece of metal flashing. I flashed all, trimmed around there, steel wooled it, fire blocked it, put the flashing in, screwed it down. I can now see that that is still intact. So all of this mouse poop means that the mice were in here, but they came from somewhere else. Now, the problem...
Where the pipes are.
Please don't interrupt me when I'm videoing, sir. He's telling me to look up because I'm going to show you up in a minute, but here's the thing. Also, if you take the screws out and you take out the electrical module, call it electrical module to make it easy, that consists of Up at the top, we have a fuse box, a fuse panel. It has some circuit breakers and some fuses. The fuses are for the 12-volt electrical system, and the circuit breakers are for the 120-volt electrical system. In the bottom, we have the power converter or inverter. Anyways, that whole assembly can be moved out. When you move that whole assembly out, it gives you access to the two big penetrations in the floor here where they sent cables up through. There's one right there, a smaller one. That was just a big open hole that I could just stick my finger in easily. I stuffed aluminum foil in there and fire blocked it, okay? And it still looks intact. And then on this side, there's a larger one. Same thing. Filled it with foam, filled it with aluminum foil, fire block, fire stopping. Also, still intact. And those are the only two openings in the floor in that section, but there's mouse poop right there. So they've been all in here again. So the question is, how are they getting in here? Well, one theory is I didn't do any of these openings up above because I was using the logic of a bottom-up method of stopping them. I was assuming that they're getting into the belly of the trailer and coming up through openings in the floor. Okay? The thing that I forgot about is the fact that, or that I've now learned, is that they can now get on the roof, get into the refrigerator through the cover. They're using that cover. When the cover's on in the wintertime, they could travel as they like. If they get up into the roof or the ceiling or the walls, they can then work their way down from the top down into the compartment like this. The other possibility is if we look, so this piece of wood right here, all right, is actually what these little partitions that we just took down are attached to. If we look down this little narrow way right here, going underneath that, there's actually a little bit of mouse poop going that way. So they may have even come in from over there behind this panel. Go ahead and pull that panel off. You can just lower it down. And what we have in here is we have a whole mess of penetrations and holes that I tried to take care of, but what I discovered is there's an area that you can't get to. All right, so he just took out this panel on the side here, and yeah, we've got more. That actually looks like pretty old mouse poop. Wondering whether or not that's something I just failed to vacuum out. I don't think I took that panel out before. But we've got the penetration through the floor where the heating duct comes through. All right, that they did, that gray stuff there, that's all factory. The factory put all that in there. But I did find areas over here on this side where the pipes come through, hot and cold water, that they did put some stuff, but not enough. So then I came in and added stuff to block it. So that kind of takes care of this area, except for way over there, way out there near the outside edge of the trailer, you can see more pink foam. I was just able to reach in there with my hand and foam that as best I could, because I could see that there was a hole where the cables are going through the floor. I don't know how well that's coming out on the video here. Let me see if I can get the camera in there. All right, right there, that stuff right there, that pink, that's a penetration where the cables come through and you can barely reach it. And then underneath there may be something, there may be a penetration or opening that I can't even see. And the reason why I can't see any of that is because you see this white styrofoam and that aluminum metal area over there. What we're looking at is we're looking at the entire hot water heater unit assembly. So here is the hot water heater. So this hot water heater assembly, if we wanted to really be able to get to the underside of that and check it all out for holes in the floor, we'd have to remove this hot water heater assembly. And the problem with that is, the way they put this in, is they cut a hole and that's all sealed and caulked into the unit. Okay, and actually, it doesn't look too bad, but every once in a while you got to check that and make sure if it needs to be resealed, because you don't want water coming down the side of the trailer getting behind there. The point is, between the really non-flexible gas line that feeds this and the piping and everything else that's going on, this is kind of a bear to remove. So I do not want to get involved in having to do that. So the best we can do is clean up all of this mouse poop in here and then seal all of the overhead penetrations to see if we can't get them to stop from maybe coming in through the top, and hope for the best as far as that under the heater situation is concerned. Oh, I will say one other thing about under the heater. The other thing I can do, and I'm going to end up doing, is I could take the belly material off the bottom of the trailer in the area where the heater is and look up from the bottom to see what I could see. All right, so now we're in the bathroom, and I'm showing you the medicine cabinet. The reason why I'm showing you the medicine cabinet is because this medicine cabinet was the first big clue I had to the idea that the mice were inside the ceiling and using the ceiling to travel throughout the trailer. And the reason why I feel that way is because normally my wife keeps this cabinet door completely closed all winter long. When we opened up this door this spring, we found a pack of Kleenex tissues that had been all shredded and chewed by the mice. And I looked at this cabinet and I was like, this thing's completely sealed and they can't get in through when that door is closed. With the door closed, there's no way they should be able to get in there, except for this. This light is fed by a power cable that comes through a hole right there. See that big hole? So the only way they could get into that cabinet is through that hole, and to get to that hole, they've got to get into the ceiling. This plastic paneling that they use as a ceiling material, there's actually a gap between this paneling and the roof decking. And inside that gap, they have all types of cabling and ductwork and everything running in there. There's supposed to be foam board insulation in there to insulate this thing. But they probably cut a lot of channels in it and leave spots, voids, where they have cables and ductwork going. And the mice must be using that as a little highway. So now I've got to think more top down as far as how these mice are getting in here. So we're going to do this hole just like we did the other ones. We're going to steel wool that hole and seal it. This is the vanity, the bathroom vanity, and underneath the bathroom vanity, of course, in the shelf there's a hole, but who cares about that? It's these holes in the floor. These are the pipes we just saw in the pass-through. Okay, so when I was looking up, I said, well, we've got to, fix those areas right there around those pipes especially. This one doesn't look too bad. The gap's pretty small, but we're still gonna seal that. That one is horrible. There's old mouse poop there, by the looks of it. So we may have just missed cleaning that up. Although, kind of surprised. That may have also fallen out of somewhere. There's mouse poop in the corner here, and there's mouse poop there. So they've definitely been in here. Could definitely see how they could get in here through that opening. Normally we keep these doors, we've been keeping these doors closed. Now my wife keeps them open. She figures keeping them open is going to keep them from wanting to go in there and build a nest. The problem is, by keeping them open, it allows them to come out of this cabinet and just walk right out into the general area here. I just noticed something else though, which is kind of weird. So we've got this piece of carpet right here. And I was like, well, what the heck is that? And then I pull the carpet back and I realized that's the end of one of the steel support pieces for the frame. And it's it's a channel block. It's a rectangular square tubing. Rectangular square, you know what I mean? It's hollow. So wherever that goes down the other end, who knows if there's an opening somewhere in there. But they might be coming right in through here, right through that big opening right there. It's huge. Not only that, but it's halfway through the floor. So there's a big gap here anyways. Furthermore, it goes through this wall, and you can see where they cut around the wall. There's a huge gap here. And that goes into the bunkhouse. And my son Aiden was just saying he believes he found someplace else where they might be coming in. So go ahead. Turn this light on. So this is actually one of the bunk beds, and they got a little piece of Luan plywood there. It's very thin, and
think over there.
Yeah, that actually doesn't look too bad. If anything, that's condensation causing mildew. That's not good. We should keep that open. Underneath here is where I would expect it. See that hollow under there? Oh yeah, it's completely hollow. So there you go. That piece of carpet right there is covering the rest of that beam. And it goes over here and it's covered by carpet there, and actually it's all in here. Hold on. Goes around. And that's all pretty well sealed. Now, we don't really tend to have experienced many mouse problems here in this bunk area, so I think we might be okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to leave that off. All right, so we did actually, here it is right there. There's a mouse turd right there. All right, so, but we don't see any way that they can actually get into here, so we think maybe they just lifted up on that Luan plywood because it's so light. Oh, there is a gap in the corner here. Yeah, I don't know.
This is better lift up.
Well, we'll leave that off.
We'll have to
We'll clean this all out.
All right, so I'm back in the pass-through compartment here, and these are the two penetrations that go through into that underneath the vanity. So that's going to be easy enough to fill that in and everything. But I wanted to show you guys over here, back over here, we cleaned this all up. We're going to, except in that, it's hard to get in there. We're going to take the power inverter assembly and fuse box out from the inside. And when that gets moved out, it's a lot easier to clean that all out. And we'll double check for penetrations there. But I wanted to show you over here. So this is now, we've got these this whole cable run right here, these Romex cables here, going through two penetrations in the corner here. These are all behind this false wall that we took down. This is the one I wanted to really show you. Look at the size of the hole they made in the floor here for these two water lines. But more importantly, if I shine my light in here, I can actually see that those go inside the wall, the vertical wall, which is completely hollow there. And that's going to probably run all the way up. That hole probably runs all the way up to the that ceiling area.